Yeah, hi there, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. And I'm going to give you some comments on Speak Clearly lesson number 7. Alright, so let's hear what you have to say.
However, the U.S. Army continually invaded this territory, creating problems within the known zones of the native economy.
Okay, now be careful here. Once you have these prepositions, you don't want to pause after a preposition or a determiner. This is a thought group. So you'll say something like this. However, the U.S. Army continually invaded this territory, creating problems within the known zones of the native economy. So remember, again, a prepositional phrase, you need to put all of that together as one group, right? You see what I'm saying? So let's practice it together. Here we go. However, the U.S. Army continually invaded this territory, creating problems within the known zones of the native economy.
Indeed, it is known that forms of dance play an important role within a culture and reveal a wide range of information about the characteristics of a culture.
Not bad, pretty good on your pausing there. Let's take a look at a couple words here. Culture, reveal, reveal.
Sitting Bull and the Saw realized
Sue,
they could not defeat the army alone, and they must fight on their own land.
Okay, you got to work a little bit on your pausing. Once you pause before and, you want to group this together. And they must fight on their own land. So let's read this one together. Sitting Bull and the Sioux realized they could not defeat the army alone, and they must fight on their own land.
Ice speeds up the repair process and should be applied for 10 to 30 minutes on and off for not longer than 72 hours.
Got to work on your pausing a little bit on this one.
It is important to point out that the...
Okay, let's try this one again. Ice speeds up the repair process and should be applied for 10 to 30 minutes on and off for not longer than 72 hours. That's kind of how I read that one. Okay, let's go back just a few seconds.
Out that the adult feedback has a direct effect on development at this stage for 10 to 30 minutes on and off for not longer than 72 hours.
Okay, number 5.
It is important to point out that the...
Good job on the P. Yes, point out. I like it. You're trying to pronounce that P with more air. That's good.
Adult feedback has a direct effect on development at this stage, again in helping the child to acquire the words to express increasingly subtle differences in reference.
Right, so you have a little bit of trouble with pausing on this one, so let's read this one more time. It is important to point out that adult feedback has a direct effect on development at this stage, again in helping the child to acquire the words to express increasingly subtle differences in reference. That's probably how I would pause that one. Okay, I think we have one more here. Am I right?
Voice recording exercise 2.
Yes. You figured it out. You know exactly what you're doing now.
Younger children typically overgeneralize
Say typically.
their early words or
early words.
hollow phrases in the act of deciphering the semantics of their language. Thus, cat may be applied to anything with 4 legs.
Good stress on anything. That makes a lot of sense. But you got too many pauses going on in there. You got to read a little bit faster, more comfortably.
Daddy is any adult male. As the child experiments with the increasing sophisticated hypothesis
increasingly, don't forget that ly, increasingly,
about the meaning of words, previously acquired items may drop out of the vocabulary. An example is the 16-month-old who went through a period of calling his mother Lady Daddy.
You got it. Okay, now we got to do it together with fewer pauses this time. You ready? Young children typically overgeneralize their early words or phrases in the act of deciphering the semantics of their language. Thus, cat may be applied to anything with 4 legs. Daddy is any adult male. As the child experiments with increasingly sophisticated hypotheses about the meaning of words, previously acquired items may drop out of the vocabulary. An example is a 16-month-old who went through a period of calling his mother Lady Daddy. Okay, now let's take a look at this one.
Lesson 8. Voice recording exercise 1.
We got it.
1. Stan told Dan that he could not hand in his bad plan since it was too poorly organized.
I got it. This is killing you right here now. It's not Stan, but Stan, Dad, that. But then not but not. Hand, bad plan. So let's read this one again. Stan told Dad that he could not hand in his bad plan since it was too poorly organized. Be careful about this one. This one seems to be a little bit harder for you.
2. A well-written magazine can be the answer.
Not can. You're saying can be the answer. It's can be the answer. Can answer.
For some readers in that it acts as an accomplished sanctuary.
An accomplished, not accomplished, but accomplished sanctuary.
Which helps them to concentrate on those issues that matter most.
I got it. So the O and the A, not good for you, my friend. Let's do number 2 together. You ready? A well-written magazine can be the answer for some readers in that it acts as an accomplished sanctuary, which helps them to concentrate on those issues that matter most. All right.
3. Fire management offers prescribed burning as a solution so that the habitats within the burn areas do not have a natural wildfire which burns too hard.
Burns, and this is not habitats, but habitats, habitats.
4. Graduate cognitive psychology programs study phenomena and other problems after which practical applications are modeled, some of which are based on many aspects of real life.
Okay.
5. Authorities in Kansas processed competent rations on a farm project designed along with the emergency alert system for the tornado victims.
Okay, here, let's do 4 and 5 together here. Graduate cognitive psychology programs study phenomena and other problems after which practical applications are modeled, some of which are based on many aspects of real life. Authorities in Kansas processed competent rations on a farm project designed along with the emergency alert system for the tornado victims. All right, this one not yet. You're maybe 50% right now. This is not, you have not yet mastered the vowels in this lesson, not yet. So we need to do a little bit more work here. But let's go to the voice recording exercise here, the paragraphs.
Voice recording exercise 2.
We got it.
Due to the 3 minutes of violent shaking, landslides in Anchorage caused heavy damage.
Damage. Damage.
Huge slides occurred in the downtown.
Not it's occurred.
Town business section at Government Hill and at Tanagan Heights. The largest and most devastating landslide occurred at Tanagan Heights. An area of about 130 acres was devastated by displacements that broke the ground into many deranged blocks.
Let me see how you said that number again. Hold on a minute.
At Government Hill and at Tanagan Heights. The largest and most devastating landslide occurred at Tanagan Heights. An area of about 130 acres was...
About 130 acres. I would say here 130 acres. I would be a little more formal when you're pronouncing numbers, especially for an audience. I would be a little bit more formal. So say the whole thing, 130 acres.
Devastated by displacements that broke the ground into many deranged blocks that were...
You want to say many deranged blocks.
Collapsed and tilted at all angles.
Tilted, I would take tilted at together and tilted at all angles.
This slide destroyed about 75 private houses. Water mains and gas, sewer, telephone, and electrical systems were disrupted throughout the area.
Okay, here, we still need practice here, right? Now I want you to read this with me one more time. Due to the 3 minutes of violent shaking, landslides in Anchorage caused heavy damage. Huge slides occurred in the downtown business section, at Government Hill, and at Turnagain Heights. The largest and most devastating landslide occurred at Turnagain Heights. An area of about 130 acres was devastated by displacements that broke the ground into many deranged blocks that were collapsed and tilted at all angles. This slide destroyed about 75 private houses. Water mains and gas, sewer, telephone, and electrical systems were disrupted throughout the area. Okay, now H. I want you to do this paragraph several times until you can read it right with me at the same time, at the same pace, and so on. But here's what I want you to do now. You already did voice recording exercise number 1 and 2, right? So I want you to go through the other exercises, and I'm particularly interested in just the first one. I want you to do the very first exercise in this lesson. You'll see the list of words: pat, pot, map, mop. I want you to go ahead and record those pairs of words so I can give you feedback one more time. Now remember, just send me one lesson at a time. It's too stressful. Don't send me 4 or 5 different lessons. Send me speaking lesson 7. I give you feedback, and then you make a few changes. You'll send that back. Once you're done with lesson 7, then let's go to 8. Once we're done with that, then let's go to 9. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes it's good to get some feedback from me before you do the next lesson. Okay, let's take a look at, I think this one is lesson number 10.
Lesson 10. Voice Recording Exercise 1. Number 1. The success of cold reading lies in the sitter embellishing selected statements from the reading, with the details that make the generalizations appear more accurate than they are.
Not bad, but your tone, you got to put a little more emotion into it. So, but this is probably another lesson for another day, but maybe we can read them in just a minute.
2. Both children played the keyboard, but Wolfgang became a violin virtuoso as well.
Try this. Violin virtuoso. Pronounce the V with more vibration. Violin virtuoso.
3. The sun has been fusing hydrogen into helium and hence providing us with its radiant energy for 4.5 billion years, and it is expected to continue to do so for another 3 to 4 billion years more.
Not bad.
5. While the Romance family illustrates well the concept of a language family, it is also highly unusual in that the ancestral language, Latin, was a written language that has left us copious records.
Yes. Now, interesting here. I'm going to say, well, the Romance family, not romance. If I say I'm going to romance my wife tonight, or she romanced me last week, if I'm using it as a verb, I would put the stress in the second syllable, but because I'm focusing on using this as an adjective, we'll probably say here, while the Romance family illustrates well the concept. I think you have these sounds, no major problems so far.
5. The location of the nostrils allows the platypus to breathe while the rest of the body remains under the water surface.
Okay, so what I want to do now is let's work on them together here. And when you're reading them with me right now, concentrate on your intonation and notice how I'm not just speaking in one tone. All right? Number 1. The success of cold reading lies in the sitter embellishing selected statements from the reading with details that make the generalizations appear more accurate than they are. Both children played the keyboard, but Wolfgang became a violin virtuoso as well. The sun has been fusing hydrogen into helium and hence providing us with its radiant energy for 4.5 billion years, and it is expected to continue to do so for another 3 to 4 billion years more. While the Romance family illustrates well the concept of a language family, it is also highly unusual in that the ancestral language, Latin, was a written language that has left us copious records. The location of the nostrils allows a platypus to breathe while the rest of the body remains under the water surface.
Voice recording exercise 2.
We got it.
The wealth of scientific data accumulated during these space flights validate apparent similarities during these space flights. Validate of scientific data accumulated during these space flights.
Space flights.
Validate apparent similarities between the effects of space flight and aging. Glenn will be a test subject for specific investigations which mimic the effects of aging, including loss of muscle mass and bone density, disrupted sleep patterns, a depressed immune system, and loss of balance.
Yes, that intonation here. Very nice. I like that. You did that. You actually had some rising tone there. That was good. So including loss of muscle mass and bone density, disrupted sleep patterns, a depressed immune system, and a loss of balance. Yes, that. You feel that? You got to do a little more of that as you are doing your readings and your practice. I want to hear, as you're doing your homework exercises, I want you to work a little bit more on that tone. You know you can do it. It's just a matter of paying more attention to that. All right, you want to read this one together one more time? Here we go. The wealth of scientific data accumulated during these space flights validate apparent similarities between the effects of space flight and aging. Glenn will be a test subject for specific investigations which mimic the effect of aging, including loss of muscle mass and bone density, disrupted sleep patterns, a depressed immune system, and loss of balance. Okay, here. Now let's take a look here. This one I'm not completely sure about this sound. This is one I'm worried about right now with you. So I want you to do this first exercise one more time. Remember to tell me what lesson it is, or I'm going to forget, so I know where to find the lesson. So I want you to take these words: gate, get, late, let, mate, met, and just pronounce those pairs of words together so I can monitor this a little more. And just remember that the A, that's a long vowel sound. That's the one sometimes you're not making it quite long enough, and that gives you a bit of a non-native speaker accent. All right? And this is Speak Clearly lesson number 11, so I'm going to listen to this one.
Lesson 11. Voice recording exercise 1. 1. In this situation, you recognize that your teacher has a desire to be respected.
I'm going to say here this one word, situation. That's more of a CH there, situation. You recognize.
2.
Say the word to, longer. To, few, blue, moo, zoo, ooh. You need to get used to making those longer vowels longer. And that, my friend, is going to help you speak more naturally, I promise you. But remember that what we're doing here is a battle. There's not a really easy way to do this, but I give you exercises, you work on them, you give me feedback, I give you feedback, I make some corrections, you send them back to me. You know what's going to happen after a while? Your brain will start getting used to all of these new sounds and spelling patterns and all of that, and eventually, it may take a few months, but I can help you. I really can. I can help you reduce your accent, but it is a very difficult, painstaking process. It doesn't happen overnight. But here we are. You're taking the right step here. You're already sending me a lot of exercises. Now I can give you a lot of feedback.
In 1978, the United States...
1978. 1978.
Supreme Court declared marriage
Supreme. The supreme. Supreme.
to be of fundamental importance to all individuals.
Not bad.
3. As the plane uses jet engines, or even propeller in some cases, to move itself forward, air rushes by the wing.
A lot of pauses there. Too many pauses in that one. That's not good. You weren't quite sure what to do with all those commas. Let's read it. As the plane uses jet engines, or even a propeller in some cases, to move itself forward, air rushes by the wing. That's kind of a hard one.
4. The pilot must increase engine power, which
power, longer power.
Increases thrust, which
thrust.
Increases lift off again. It makes this drop in
thus making this drop.
Altitude manual.
Okay, let's read this one more time. The pilot must increase engine power, which increases thrust, which increases lift over again, thus making this drop in altitude manual.
5. Anyone who can read and write can improve the efficiency of their memory.
Not bad. All right, let's do these one more time. In this situation, you recognize that your teacher has a desire to be respected. In 1978, the United States Supreme Court declared marriage to be of fundamental importance to all individuals. As the plane uses jet engines, or even a propeller in some cases, to move itself forward, air rushes by the wing. The pilot must increase engine power, which increases thrust, which increases lift over again, thus making this drop in altitude manual. Anyone who can read and write can improve the efficiency of their memory.
Voice recording exercise 2. How would you like to have a time machine that could take you back anywhere over the past 300,000 years?
Not bad. Your tone's not perfect, but you're trying there. Now let me give you a tip. Believe it or not, if you're using WH questions like how, where, why, when type questions, you don't really have to rise your tone too much at the end. But with yes-no questions, you always rise your tone at the end. That's very important for a yes-no question. So I might read this as, how would you like to have a time machine that could take you anywhere over the last... Wait a minute, I forgot back. Let me say it again. How would you like to have a time machine that could take you back anywhere over the past 300,000 years?
What the world was like when ice sheets 1,000 feet thick blanket.
Be careful though. Feet is good, but you said feet thick. I'm going to say feet thick. E-I. So be careful here. Sometimes because this sound follows that one, you tried to pronounce both words with this sound, but it's 1,000 feet thick.
Canada and northern Europe, or when the Indonesian volcano TBA blew its top in the largest volcanic eruption of the last 500,000 years.
All right, not bad. We need to do this one again one more time. Here we go. How would you like to have a time machine that could take you back anywhere over the past 300,000 years? You could see what the world was like when ice sheets 1,000 feet thick blanketed Canada and northern Europe, or when the Indonesian volcano blew its top in the largest volcanic eruption of the last 500,000 years. Notice those pauses. Are you starting to get the idea here? For example, I sometimes pause before prepositional phrases. That's very common. Obviously, you'll pause right after a comma or right before what's called the dependent clause here. So you get the hang of it. My goodness, so we did a lot of work today. I think I gave you some suggestions, some things I want you to work on. Don't send me lesson number 12 until you go over some of these practice exercises that I recommended in this video. Okay, once that's good, then you can move on. All right?